second attempt at making this recording. Is actually so I had, gotten a decent way into recording this. Fortunately, I haven't played any turns yet. But I have some hotkeys set up on, to start recording, stop recording, or pause recording, unpause recording. Apparently, I hit the hotkey for stop recording at some point, and kept rambling on for several minutes without even realizing it. Basically, um, we're in Barbarossa, Berlin. Playing Alytus Bridgehead here. Or yeah, hopefully I'm pronouncing Alytus right. If this was edited an edited video, I would go and research how to pronounce anything that I was uncertain about how to pronounce. But anyway, so I had gone through this whole thing where which side am I going to play as here, because I don't really have a strong opinion. And ended up just go to a random number generator, generate 0 or 1. 0 plays the Axis, 1 it plays the Soviets. Generated a 1, so I'm playing as the Soviets. Because I don't want to spend a tremendous amount of time thinking about it. So, it's June 22nd, 1941, first day of of Operation Barbarossa. The Germans have crossed the Niemen River and established 2 separate bridgeheads. Our traitorous engineers, failed to follow their orders, and will no doubt be shot by the commissars. And they didn't blow up the bridges. So my battalion, now needs to attack the southern bridgehead. Now we need to attack the southern bridgehead and drive the invaders back across the river. We estimate that no more than a single panzer battalion, supported by some motorized infantry, is holding both of the bridgeheads and the town of Alytus itself. So we've got to destroy the bridgeheads before the main body of the panzer group arrives. So there's enemy infantry that presumably have not had enough time to dig in, but they have taken up defensive positions. And my forces, I have 2 platoons of T-34s, 2 Model 1939 T-26Ss, 2 platoons of Model 1939 T-26S tank platoons, 1 tank platoon of Model 1937 T-26Ss, and 1 platoon of Model 1931 T-26s. Oh, and 2 platoons of BT-7 two BT-7 fast tank platoons. And I've got 2 companies of motorized infantry, each with 3 rifle platoons, 3 50mm mortars, and 2 Maxim machine guns. Got 2 spotters for 122mm howitzer batteries. I may get some air support, but I can expect the Germans probably will get some air support. Probably a lot more air support than I'm going to be getting. So it's notable that I don't see any anti-aircraft weapons among my troops. And what I seem to have been given here is quite the eclectic mix of tanks here, as sort of a spotter's guide of Soviet early war tanks. We've got T-26s, BT-7s, and T-34s. Yes, and these Model 1931 T-26s with just machine guns, which is interesting. So those are anti-infantry only. But yeah, you know, I would think that at battalion level you would expect, you know, I would personally expect to just have one kind of tank, and the variety of tanks might kick in. You know, above battalion level, this battalion has this kind of tank, and then this other battalion has another kind of tank. This scenario designer seems to have decided to introduce that variety all in a single scenario in a single battalion. Okay, I guess the early days of Operation Barbarossa were hectic. Maybe that's not as unrealistic as I would guess. I'm not enough of a Eastern Front buff to really know. But yeah, most armies, most time periods, I would expect, you know, for a small unit, you know, certainly below battalion level, maybe up to regimental level. But yeah, certainly at battalion level, I would expect to, you know, just all have one kind of tank. And the entire battalion is equipped with the same kind of tank. Anywho, so the main thing is I have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 platoons of tanks. Of those, 7 have anti-armor weapons. 2 of these platoons have exceptionally good anti-armor weapons for the time period. Well, okay. I guess that's not fantastic anti-armor performance there. It's certainly better than the 45mm guns on my T-26s and BT-7s. Okay, but 2 platoons have much stronger armor and somewhat more powerful guns. So I probably want them in the thickest fighting. I mean, none of them... I don't want any of them to rely on their armor. Not even the T-34s. But where they're most likely to take hits, regardless of... You know, despite my best efforts to avoid it, I want the T-34s to be in those positions. Okay, so I guess I need to do a terrain analysis here, don't I? Or, hang on. MET-TC, mission, I've got to take... I've got 2 objective flags. Say the enemy has 2 bridgeheads. Of course, really it would be 1 bridgehead across 2 bridges here, if they own all of the territory in between. Okay. So, mission take these objectives, enemy... mission capture the terrain objectives, enemy We think a panzer battalion supported by some motorized infantry. So basically a balanced mirror image of my own forces. Seems to be what we're anticipating. There's my own troops, which we've already covered. You've got 2 companies of motorized infantry and a battalion of tanks. There are 8 platoons of tanks. Looks like 5 tanks each. So there's like 40 tanks. It's quite a lot of tanks. Time, I've got 38 minutes. So terrain and weather. Weather, clear, dry, cool, breeze in the northeast. Which will be relevant if we decide to use smoke. So there's north. So breeze going generally that way. So, terrain then. So if I can remember my acronyms, or obstacles and avenues of approach. An avenue of approach, something that consists of mobility corridors leading to an objective. So this road, obviously, but also we don't have any significant obstacles preventing us from reaching that objective there. So the only significant obstacles are the buildings themselves are an obstacle to vehicle obstacles to vehicle movement. Really no obstacles to infantry movement. Well, except of course, once we get to the river itself is a big obstacle in front of our final objective back here, with only 2 very specific avenues of approach. But to this objective, everywhere is an avenue of approach to that objective. As for cover and concealment and observation in fields of fire, I can make the fairly gamey assumption that this clump of trees here is so close to my setup zone that it is probably not occupied by the enemy. Not a line of reasoning one could make in real life, but one I'm probably fairly safe to make here. This is also a fairly good clump of trees for hiding troops. Probably one of the first clumps of trees I should move towards. We've got... The ground is relatively flat, but not perfectly flat. So, do we have... So those clumps of trees are sitting on hills that do interrupt line of sight. So that forms a gentle hill there that interrupts line of sight on the right. This hill here is the most significant interruption to line of sight on the right. Seems likely that it would be occupied. If it is occupied, particularly with any kind of anti-tank gun or any anti-tank guns or any anti-tank capability. That could be a serious problem for any advance on the rest of the map. So I should devote some attention to taking this hill, I think. So I think we're expecting to face enemy infantry. Like the first enemy opposition we're going to face is infantry, and then tanks will come later. If they come later, are they going to spawn on this side, or are they going to have to drive across the bridge? Probably depends on how confident the scenario designer is in the pathfinding, in the AI pathfinding, going across a bridge. I have 2 companies of infantry. I could send one company right at that clump of trees, one company right at this clump of trees, and then have them converge on the town. That's one way of doing it. And that clears off our 2... That takes advantage of our 2 major sources of cover and concealment for an infantry approach, and clears out the 2 major sources where we might, find hidden anti-tank guns or anti-tank rifles embedded in those trees that could impede my tanks trying to go go around them or through them. Hang on. If I recall correctly... No, I can't actually check right now because everywhere that isn't as... Yeah, we've got a distinct setup phase and orders phase, and a first turn orders phase. So everywhere here draws a red line, so I can't use that to check. But I believe wood tiles are just impassable to vehicles in CM1. So I could not drive my vehicles, say, through these woods to poke up through the trees, which maybe isn't entirely realistic. In any case, I think I do want to position tanks over here anyway, so they can at least support the infantry attack against the woods, and then drive around if they can't drive through. I would like to drive them up onto the top of the hill to, shoot at whatever's beyond the hill. But, okay, I think... Start getting some of these T-26s. Actually, yeah. How do I want to distribute my tank platoons? As of 8 platoons, 2 of those platoons are, considerably tougher tanks. Are made up of considerably tougher tanks. I'm definitely, they've got T-26s, BT-7s, and T-34s. Of those, I'm far more interested in seeing the T-26s and BT-7s in action. Because those are the kinds of tanks we don't have in Combat Mission Red Thunder. Like the T-34s, I've seen them in action in Combat Mission Red Thunder. It's the T-26s and BT-7s that are new to me. they're what I'm playing. They on the Soviet side and the things like Panzer IIs, Panzer 38Ts, and 35Ts on the German side. Those are really what I'm interested in playing Barbarossa to Berlin for. The stuff that doesn't exist in a CM2 game so far, or at all. Maybe one day will exist in a CM3 game. Okay, I think the first thing I want to do actually is organize my infantry. Have I decided basically to send one company at this clump of trees and one company at this clump of trees? I think I do want to take both these clumps of trees. I guess if I'm going to keep referring to them, I ought to name them. So this one's further north, so call that North Hill, and this one South Hill. They are hills, not just clumps of trees. They also sit on gentle rises. Or the northern one does. The northern one is definitely a hill with some trees on it. Yeah, that one's a hill too. It's a gentler rise, but it counts. Okay. I dubbed the North Hill, and I dubbed the South Hill. And that's just Alytus. Okay, infantry. Right, let's start getting my infantry organized for the attack. We've pretty much got, we've got open ground to attack across. So maybe I can set up my Maxim machine guns. It does say I have, briefing says I have Maxim machine guns. I'll set them up in those woods there. And maybe one platoon can attack out of these woods. Yeah, let's track down my Maxims. I guess first of all, let's figure out where all my infantry platoons are. We've got one infantry platoon. There we go. There. It looks like it consists of 4 rifle squads. Quite submachine gun heavy, those squads. It looks like every single one of them has a semi-automatic rifle, an SVT-40. Every single one of them has 6 bolt-action Mosin-Nagants. SVT-40. 3 PPSH or PPD submachine guns. And 1 DP light machine gun. Very heavy on SMG firepower. That is a lot of submachine gun firepower there. Huh. The SVT-40 accounts for less firepower than I would expect, it being a semi-automatic rifle. Okay, 6 Mosin-Nagants adds up to 32 firepower at extreme short range, or 30 firepower at 100 meters. So each one at 40 meters, the game figures them as having 5.3 firepower, or at 100 meters as having 5 firepower. So this one SVT-40 has a little bit more than twice their firepower at short range. About 2.4 times. The game figures one SVT-40 is worth about 2.44 Mosin-Nagants at 40 meters, or 1.4 Mosin-Nagants at 100 meters, or 3 at 250 meters. Not sure why they have a different drop-off rate. I mean, they'd be firing the same rounds. The sights are a little different. And, you know, maybe the mechanical accuracy of the rifle is different, but honestly, the effective accuracy should be the same, since it's almost all going to be human error is going to be the defining factor on accuracy. Anywho. Right, okay. So you guys are 1st Platoon A Company, 2nd Platoon A Company, so I need to find 3rd Platoon A Company. There you are. So let's move you guys over to the right, and might end up doing a 2 up, 1 back type deal. These would be... Okay, so this is the Mortar Platoon, 4th Platoon A Company. Actually, I'm surprised it's A Company and not 1 company. I think, pretty sure the Soviets number their companies rather than lettering their companies. Maybe it was different in 1941? Okay, there's one of our Maxim guns. And one of our spotters. Right, I should figure out how I want to use my artillery. Or once I take these hills, that'll give me good line of sight. I may be able to decide how to use my artillery later. You know, just make sure my spotters... Now, we've got 2 hills. We'll put 1 spotter on North Hill, 1 spotter on South Hill. There are 2 spotters around here somewhere else. Okay. So there is my company HQ. We'll... Oh. I don't want you to be taking over command for many of my platoon commanders. So we'll keep you relatively distant for now until I've got my platoons organized. Okay. So one of the Maxims will be set up over here, and we'll move it to the edge of these woods here on the first turn. Oh, you're currently placing yourself under that platoon HQ, which I guess is fine for now. I need to find the other A Company Maxim, because I think I should have 2 Maxims per platoon, or per company, right? So that's one of B Company's Maxims. There's B Company's other Maxim. There's B Company's Mortar Platoon. A Company should have 1 more Maxim machine gun, right? Where is it? Maybe it is on the back of one of these tanks. I'll worry about organizing B Company, which I would think would be 2nd Company. 1st Company, 2nd Company, rather than A Company, B Company. As I think, yeah, I thought the Soviets, you know, even in World War II, not just, this isn't just me misapplying, you know, Cold War Soviet organization, but, you know, they did in World War II as well, I'm pretty sure. That they numbered their companies rather than lettering them. But, you know, that might just be something that CM1 got wrong. I'll have to check the next time I play Combat Mission Red Thunder. If it has the companies numbered, the Soviet companies numbered or lettered. Okay, so there's A company. Oh, okay, so I guess A company just has one Maxim MG. No, hang on. There's the second one. That's the reason I didn't notice it, is it had placed itself under the 3rd Platoon HQ, so I was seeing it as just being one of 3rd Platoon's squads. Okay, so both the Maxims are in position to take up position in these woods on the first turn. We've got the Mortar Platoon, or I don't know, maybe I should put the MGs over here. Does it particularly matter? Maybe not. I don't want to overcrowd, bunch my units up too much. But there might be some merit in having my machine guns shooting from 2 different angles. One angle might, if I have them in 2 different positions, one might end up having a better angle on some enemy troops, while the other might have a better angle on others. And if I could get it into this clump of trees, just if I do put it... Okay. Place it here, and I do have a line of sight tool. Yeah, okay. There's good line of sight from here. Okay. So one there. The other is going to move up into these woods on the first turn. And we've got the Mortar Platoon, which similarly, should I guess if I want to spread the Mortar Platoon around, I've got an awkward number of mortars. I've got 3 mortars. Or if I was going to split it up, I would want to split it up evenly. Oh, okay. We'll put 2 of my mortars in these scattered trees on the right, with the other mortar and the HQ on the left. And that might not actually provide any benefit. Just get them all into positions that have line of sight to this hill. The full length of the hill, without overcrowding each other. Don't want them to be all bunched up. It's really the only consideration. There's the 2 considerations when finding positions, or maybe 3. Is I am putting them in the light woods or scattered trees tiles rather than the open ground, just because I assume the scattered trees confers a little bit more cover, a little bit more benefit. And also grab... Okay, so there is A Company HQ. I don't want to put you too close to anyone else just yet, because I don't want you stealing command lines. I want to know which squads go to which platoons until I've got them organized at least. Whereas these command links, these red lines, indicating command links, if I put, say, the company commander over here... okay. Maybe I don't need to worry about it so much. Yeah, okay. The squads are keeping those command lines to their proper platoon commanders. Okay, so we've got a spotter right here. Maybe that building is a perfectly good starting position for the spotter. If I'm anticipating putting fire. Yeah, and if I do decide I want to put fire on the hill, he's got a line of sight to them, to that hill too, while also being able to... Yeah. Okay, that's actually a good position for one of my 122mm spotters. So I need to track down the other one and figure out where he's gonna go, but let's organize A Company first. Again, pretty sure that this should be First Company, not A Company, but CM1 may just be, you know, because it's a more limited engine, may be forced to go with more generic types of organizations, so maybe it doesn't have the ability to switch between, you know, this army numbers their companies, while this one letters their companies, and, you know, different armies have different ways of doing things. So, yeah, how do I want to do this? And we've got this clump of trees here. It would make sense to use it. So one of the platoons can attack out of that clump of trees, but it has to spend most of its time attacking over open ground anyway. So is it even worth the hassle? Probably yes. Okay, so your first turn orders will involve moving up through those trees. Okay, and then we've got a total of 3 platoons here. So I could have them all attack online, or I could do a 2 up, 1 back deal. I see no particular reason to keep any of my platoons in reserve, so we're going to have them all attack online together. Now, just by virtue of being an HQ in proximity to these mortars, it's stealing their command links. So it's, you know, telling me that they're under command of, you know, this closer platoon HQ, when really they're part of this platoon here. So I just need to remember to ignore those command links for the time being. Oh, yeah, and say that A Company HQ is now stealing the command links. So just sometimes need to remember that these guys are actually part of 2nd Platoon here, and not nested directly under A Company. Okay. I think all 4 squads of the platoon online. I could sort of have 2 of the squads a little bit forward, sort of in a bit of a wedge, but is there any advantage to putting them into a wedge? Probably not much. Notionally, a wedge is a little bit better prepared for, you know, dealing with threats to its flanks. Ah, okay, so that isn't open ground, that's step. Okay, yeah, open ground, step. What is the difference here? So we've got some open ground and some step. I guess the step is the grassy area. I guess normally I think of step as a label you would apply to a large expanse of terrain rather than a specific spot of terrain. Okay. Okay, so that is a company positioned to attack that hill, or North Hill, over there. Got both Maxims. One of them is going to need further orders as it moves up. No. Got our mortars positioned. So A company is positioned. Time to position B company. It looks like we've got one platoon in a fairly sensible position already, being... I see no reason to have just the platoon HQ riding on the back of a tank. If I want my infantry to take advantage of the mobility of the tank, might as well have a whole platoon take advantage of that mobility. Okay, there's the company. Oh, since I do have the whole company positioned, might as well put the company HQ in a more sensible spot, which, okay, relatively centrally located. That's a sensible enough starting spot for the company HQ. And again, I assume B company is going to be 3 platoons. We've got our 2 Maxims. It may be a sensible starting location for both of them. Maybe I want to provide a somewhat... I think I want one of them on the left side of these trees. So a smaller portion of them are out of sight. There's a good chance, like, this is close enough to my setup zone, there's a pretty good chance it's unoccupied. Like, this one is getting far enough from my setup zone that it's less likely that it's unoccupied. This one is far enough away that I don't think it's a safe assumption that it's unoccupied. That clump of trees, of course, is right next to my setup zone. It would be a dirty trick on the part of the scenario designer to put troops in that one. Okay. Oh, hang on. I can have my have this platoon start from terrain with slightly better cover, like this brush, I assume, is better terrain to be in than the open. Alternatively, I can just have them start much closer. And I think, on balance, I want them closer. Okay, so we've got that platoon. Ah, okay. So these guys are starting out way out here as if I'm expected to just kind of push straight across the open. There are more positions out here, like, I don't know, maybe there's like a machine gun in this clump of trees or something. All of these positions, including all these buildings here, are potential spots that may be inhabited by the enemy. I do kind of want to focus my efforts, though. I don't want to send, multiple platoons on multiple different missions. Kind of want to concentrate a whole company on just one objective, and then converge, ideally, both companies towards the same objective. Or depending on what kind of resistance we run into, a company may end up sticking to the north of Alytus. Yeah, once B Company takes this clump of trees, they can... Like, these trees are a decent jumping off point towards attacking this way if we end up, finding that that's the way to go. And I think for the attack on South Hill, I will keep one platoon back in reserve, just because I don't think there's quite enough frontage to have all 3 platoons trying to attack. In fact, 1 platoon might make the initial push into those woods. Okay, so what have I got? So that's the mortar platoon right here. I think that is probably a sensible enough starting position for them. I've already found the Maxims. I should have one more spotter somewhere, yes? Did I find him? Ah, there's the other spotter. think I will let him stay in that position. Okay, so then the next question. I have organized my 6 platoons of tanks, my 4 Maxim guns. What do I do with my 8 platoons? Or, yeah, my 6 platoons of infantry and 4 Maxim guns. Where do I put my 8 platoons of tanks? Do I have my tanks attempt to, do I hold them back until I've taken these hills? Possibly not. Well, taking the hills does, of course, give me better observation of what they're facing, so that I can use them. May be able to figure out where best to concentrate them from there. There should be, I think, at least 1 platoon dedicated to supporting each attack. Maybe the rest hanging back. Well, these machine gun only T-26s can focus on supporting this infantry attack. There is a logic to having my more thinly armored tanks on the flanks and the more thickly armored ones in the center, on the assumption that the enemy's center will be our center, and the weaker tanks will have a better chance of flanking the enemy if they're on the flanks. On the other hand, the center is, of course, where we have the biggest obstacles to tank movements. The village right here. So the center might actually be where we're least likely to encounter enemy tanks head-on. Possibly. Or I'm seriously overthinking this. I do think I want T-34's lead. Like, the terrain is open enough. The terrain is open enough. My options for mobility should be pretty good. So it may not matter all that much how I initially set up my tanks, as long as they can move where they need to be after the battle starts, that may be good enough. And from here, these guys may be able to go left, they may be able to go right. So, maybe I just want to all push forward. Generally online, perhaps. And ready to swing more one direction or another. Actually, you guys back a little bit further. You guys up a little bit further. Okay. Possibly I don't need to overthink this too much more. Time to, well, maybe end the setup phase and begin first turn orders. Okay. Oh, well, that won't do. I need some visual aids here. We have unit bases. Unit bases. Shift B. Yep, I want that on. Because, CM1, we don't have big floating icons to help me find where my troops are, so I want these big bright bases on so I can see where the heck my guys are. Yeah. I think the smallest visual scale is probably the closest to visual accuracy that we're going to get in CM1. Oh, that's nice. I kind of wish CM2 allowed you to turn the building transparency on and off. Horizon range probably isn't terribly relevant to this scenario. Is unlimited the default? Oh yes, show all paths. I do want that. Target lines, show all paths and targets. That can get a little visually cluttered at times, but oh, we started to get... Ah, we already have some indication of what we're facing here. Okay. Oh, I definitely want camera shake off. Okay, probably done messing with that. So, we already gained some intelligence, and there are already tanks here. Panzer II, yeah, that is one of my favorite early war tanks. That and the T-26 and the R-35, just, any tank that you don't get to see very much of in the later years of the war. Okay, we've got a lot of Panzer IIs here. Oh, and the Germans, just like us here, seem to have a bit of a spotter's guide here. Just the full variety of tanks all on the same battlefield at the same time. Is that realistic? Probably not. I know you would have, I think, the full variety of tanks in a German tank division, just probably not all in the same battalion. 2F. Okay. The Panzer IIs by this point have 30 millimeters of frontal armor. That's pretty respectable. Those 38Ts, I think that's about the... Those things are pretty formidable. And you got the 37 millimeter gun. I think that's should be approximately equal to the 37 millimeter gun on the earlier Panzer IIIs. If there are any later Panzer IIIs here, they may have a 50 millimeter gun. So, we have some intelligence of what we're facing here. Oh yeah, that one, yeah. 50 millimeter gun. Oh, but of course the Panzer IVs... Yeah, that 75 has less penetration than the 50, because it's a low velocity 75. Though, just by virtue of being a heavier projectile, air resistance shouldn't slow it down as effectively, so I would expect it to retain its penetration out to longer range. Unless, hang on, is... What kind? Is this a... Okay, armor piercing, so not heat. Okay, so... Yeah, I think that does retain its penetration better at longer ranges. Not that it matters much, because it's the same penetration at 1,000 meters. The 75 has better penetration at 2,000 meters, but good luck hitting anything at 2,000 meters with, you know, a World War II gun sight. You don't have a laser rangefinder, you don't even have a stereoscopic rangefinder. So yeah, you're not hitting much at 2,000 meters. Okay. Well, now that I know where the enemy is, I think what I want to do... Or I have more information about where the enemy is. I know where some of their tanks are. I don't know where any of their infantry are yet. Now, that tank, is that going to interfere with my infantry attack on this hill? On North Hill? I think it will. I don't think anything is going to interfere with my attack on South Hill. I think maybe what I want to do is try to concentrate, if I could swing all of my tanks around to the right, so get a very high concentration of armor on the right and try to sweep around the enemy flank. Something I kind of wish I had thought of in the setup phase, but it should still be doable, I think. But yeah, why face the enemy on even terms is what I'm thinking. If I can fight a portion of their force with the full weight of my force, is I think if I concentrate on the right, we've got terrain obscuring their forces on the left. In particular, the buildings, the village itself is obscuring their forces on to the left. So I may be able to fight half of their tanks with all of my tanks. May give me the best odds here. Anyway, I should start giving first turn orders. I'm going to go ahead and have you run up into this position. It's tiring, but you're going to be sitting there resting for a little while. Those are BT-7s there. Okay, yeah, it is. So I'm going to call that the left limit of my tank advance. I think the most important thing here is keep my tanks concentrated, so I have as many guns facing their tanks as possible. Oh, there is some unevenness to the ground that I need to take into account here. Which means some of my tanks will have a line of fire while others don't. Or what I really want is to be hitting the enemy with everything at once. Oh, but of course every additional order I give adds to the delay. How many meters can you travel in a turn? Decent chance that that's farther than you can travel in turn 1, and then I can give more orders at the beginning of turn 2, perhaps? Okay, this does mean kind of turning their flank to any enemies that are on the hill there. Okay, so we've got these T-34s here. And we are going to order them up this way. Go ahead and give you a fairly tight moving order. These BT-7... oh, hang on. The BT-7s are, of course, fast. So if I want... They're my fast tanks. Which, how fast are they? They are 31 miles per hour. My T-26s are 19 miles per hour. How fast are my T-34s? 34 miles per hour. That's honestly probably not realistic. That may be a Russian propaganda number there, 34 miles per hour. Because as I recall, the T-34 has some issues when it comes to shifting gears. Like if you want to shift into third or fourth gear, it takes a tremendous amount of strength. And I think actually if you want to shift into fourth gear, you're probably just going to break the lever. So there is the theoretical speed, which this may actually be an accurate reflection of the theoretical speed, what the engine is technically capable of pushing the hull up to. And then there's the actual real speed, the actual practical speed that a human driver can actually realistically shift into, which is nowhere near that. Something maybe to remind the dev team of whenever it comes up again in, whenever T-34s come up again in CM3, which, no doubt will be someday. Not that I have any idea what the first setting will be. It could be anywhere. I mean, maybe I do have some idea what the first setting will be. I can't tell you. Okay, so... I feel like I am kind of either tacitly assuming or ignoring enemy occupation of these woods here. I'm not so much assuming there won't be enemies there as counting on them being too busy dealing with my infantry and these T-26s. Plus, this is a decent long way to travel. Which gives my infantry a little bit more time to hopefully occupy the attention of anyone sitting on North Hill. Ow. I wanted to give this platoon group orders, but I don't want to give these guys... okay, you know what? We'll give them a just straight up move to contact order, and we'll just cancel that movement where you are concerned. And likewise, I think, just a straight move to contact order, but you, again, are going to run into those woods there. Okay, you aren't going to get anyone mixed up. So you move to contact. Oh, and actually, come to that, how long have I been recording? It may be time for a break in the recording. I've been recording for an hour and 13 minutes. Well, hang on. Maybe I can finish first turn orders. And no, I still have a lot of units to give orders to. Yeah, best finish first turn orders next time in another part. We've got like the right half of our orders done. But yeah, so this is all just planning and chattering, and we'll get to some proper Eastern Front action with tiny, small caliber early war tank guns, 45mm on our side, and a mix of 20mm, 37mm, and 50mm on the enemy side. Early war tank combat. Who isn't excited about that next time?